Good day, everyone. I will be discussing first wave feminism and radical feminism. We will look into some of the details, how this movement was formed, and what are the things feminists were fighting for. So let us define first what is feminism. So feminism is a social movement and ideology that fights for the political, economic, and social rights for women. Feminists believe that men and women are equal and women deserve the same rights as men in society. So feminists were fighting for the equality between men and women. They wanted to do things that men are doing, regardless if it's in the politics, regardless if it's in school, or anywhere that men are deployed. Okay, so looking into the brief history of feminism, the inequality started because of the Christian church doctrines, saying that women are weaker vessel. So what do we mean by women as a weaker vessel? So it is written in the Bible that God made women, or God made Eve from Adam's rib. So the church perception, or the church's view of this, that women should submit themselves to men, that their only role is to become a mother or a wife, nothing else. So applying the idea of women as the weaker vessel, only men was seen in the public sphere, whereas the women were confined in a private sphere of home. So this inequality really increased, since women cannot do anything else aside from being a mom or a wife. They don't experience things outside their home. They are not socialized, so they don't know what is going around outside the private sphere of their home. So that's when feminism was born. So the first wave feminists fought for right to vote, equal access to education, and equal rights in marriage. Because there are certain rules at that time that women are not supposed to vote. Women should not include themselves in politics. Also, women are not entitled to have education. They don't need to study. They need to learn how to work inside the house. They don't need to learn anything aside from being a person of the house. Also, there are rules that makes them not entitled to all the rights when it comes to marriage. So when it comes to equal rights in marriage, there were activists that orchestrated attacks on laws that kept women, particularly married women, in a subordinate role. Because before these laws were passed, women had no voice, especially the married women. They had no voice when their husbands physically abused them or verbally abused them. So these activists made it possible for women to have a voice. So some of the laws and rights that were passed were: men were forced to prove a wife's adultery in court and allowed women to cite a husband's cruelty or desertion. Also, women and married women were allowed to own a property. So you see, before these laws were passed, the inequality were really obvious and rampant. So there are also people who fought for the equal access to education. They believe that they have the right to be educated. They have the right to gain knowledge. They have the right to have trainings, to be professional, and to be employed. These people who fought for equality to education believe that their opinions also matter, and that they are not only confined in the private sphere of their home. They believe that their job is not only to submit themselves to their husbands or to take care of their children. They believe that there is so much more that women can offer. Of course, feminists fought for the equality when it comes to voting or when it comes to politics. They believe that they have the right to air out their voices when it comes to the economy. They also are citizens of a country that has the right to demand from the government. Although their fight for this right to vote were a decades-long fight. It took 100 years to win that right. So finally, on August 18, 1920, all American women, for the first time, deserve all the rights and responsibilities of citizenship. Now, they are now recognized as citizens of the country. Let's go now to radical feminism in education. Although radical feminism is under third wave feminism. So first wave, second wave, and third wave feminism, they have the different ideas. They have different things to fight for. So I discussed the first wave feminism, wherein they are fighting for education, marriage, and voting. So for the radical feminism, they have the different view of what to fight for. So radical feminists in education concentrated mainly on the male monopolization of knowledge and culture and on sexual politics in school. So radical feminists are concentrated on how inequalities are obvious or rampant inside the school. So there are two themes of radical feminism. The first one is the male monopolization of culture and knowledge. So according to Dale Spender, he argued that what we know is dangerously deficient, for it is the record of decisions and activities of men, presented in the guise of human knowledge. So what does he mean of dangerously deficient? What we know is dangerously deficient. He meant that what if women were included in the public sphere? What if women's opinion were considered? Will our knowledge be strong enough? Because you see, the knowledge that were put up or built were basically came from men alone. So what if what if women were included? Then the opinions, the decisions, and the activities of men might be more reliable, more stronger. What if there is so much more if women were included. The second theme of radical feminism is the sexual politics of everyday life in schools. So first is inside the classroom. Spender delineated two aspects of the problem. First is that teachers' attention are equally divided between the sexes to the advantage of boys. It means that the teachers are biased. They only hear the opinions, or they only listen to the opinions of the boys compared to the girls. When it comes to, let's say, competitions, they root for boys rather than girls. So, there is no equality. They don't mind or they don't consider opinions of women inside the classroom. Second is the potential, although not unmixed, benefits of single-sex schooling for girls. So what they think is that if they will separate girls from boys in a classroom, they will just teach all girls or all boys. All girls school will not thrive. There will be no competition. It will not be successful because they are not boys. Because they or their opinions or their knowledge are not considered. So those problems were the grounds for radical feminists to move. They were concerned that women were bullied not only by their male classmates but also by their teachers inside a mixed setting classroom. This is what they wanted to stop. This is what they wanted to fight for. To have equality between men and women inside the classroom. So it is not only inside the classroom that bullying is rampant for women, also outside the classroom. So according to Pat Mahoney, aside from girls receiving less teacher time, which is a very big problem, their existence outside the classroom is filled with verbal and non-verbal abuse and physical molestation. Example is a secondary school covered with women hating graffiti and pornographic drawings. So the radical feminists saw the men's problem. Since men are highly socialized, they have the confidence to air out their sexual desires, whereas women are not. Okay? This is not a fight for gender equality, but for sex itself. Since women are only confined most of their time in the private sphere, not long time ago, they are not, or women doesn't know how to air their desires, to air out their desires. That is where the inequality comes in. The radical feminists wanted to cut the inequality of delivering the desires or delivering the sexual desires. Why is it that only men are confident? Why is it that only men has the right to air out their sexual desires? So identifying these problems, radical feminists came up with strategies. First is exposing the abused boy to girls through publications. So they made a step by interviewing those victims of sexual harassment and published it into local newspapers. In this way, radical feminists was able to lessen the harassment, the sexual harassment in school. Second, revisions of curricula, texts, and the extension of scholarship on gender So they thought that if sex education would be um, tackled in the school, and the equal rights of male and female, then inequality will be stopped or lessened. Also, attempts of pedagogical change, especially in higher and adult education, non-hierarchical, less competitive, participatory teaching methods. So, it will also be taught in the higher education so that men and women would be educated what is equal and not equal. Proposed strategies such as separation, single-sex schools, colleges, sex discussion groups, and youth clubs. So they are now eyeing into separating male and female so that there will be no bias. So that the teacher will not be biased. So that the women can freely study without feeling of inferiority, without the feeling of fear, without the feeling of being bullied by male classmates. So that is the end of my report. I hope you learned something. Thank you for your time and thank you for listening. Have a good day.